component. Within the component, child routes are defined with the navigation within the component. We have to define the navigation within the component. So that means actually it configures a route within the current route, within the current route within the current route. So that is the point here. And you can define by using children attribute. By using children attribute, you can configure that. That means generally how we configure the child path is, so here we have the path. This is the parent. That is the parent. And here we have a component as parent component. Parent component will be there. And here in the parent component, we will add one more collection. Here we will add children. Children is an array. And children is an array of child paths. That means here you can define child path. Here again path. This is child. And here we have to use a component. That is the child component. That is how we need to configure. So this is general. Actually, this is path is present in the routes. So that means it is present in the route. Const routes, right? Const route. So that is routes type. And here we have the path. So we have the parent component. Inside the parent component, we have the children component. So the children's are configured here, and child ends, and here the parent ends like this. That is the parent and child hierarchy of the components. So generally we have to define the routes in this way. Now, one more point is then how you handle the redirection. Actually, redirection. So redirection within component is configured by using navigate method. By using navigate method of router module. By using navigate method of router module, we have to configure that. We need to configure that. So we need to use the router module and configure that by using the router module. So that is required when we are specially dealing with this. That means how do we use the router module? I will show you. That means we will see that how we can use the navigate method. Just I am first explaining the syntax. That means how we define that. So this dot router dot navigate, and it has to navigate to which component? Path. We have to navigate to the path. And any parameter. So if you have any parameter, you can define the parameter. And we have to use relative to this dot route. Important is relative to this dot route is required because if you don't define relative to this dot route, then it will look for this path directly in the URL. It should means in the parent route. Relative to this route indicates that look for this path within the component. That means it will look for a new path. It should look for the path within the component. That means relative to is used to define navigation within the context actually. Within the context. That's how we need to configure within the context. So, and we need to get that and detailsly display that option here, right? That means how we configure this, how we configure the child routes. So that means see here, in this example now, I must able to click this and then it should get the navigation within here. In that case, the product name, in the product list, we have the product name. This product name must be clickable, which will be navigating within the context. Then it should be like a button. So on button, what we do is here button. So we are configuring as a button, and usually button can be defined with a simple class. So because button looks like a button, we will put a class as btn and btn link. That means it looks like a link only, but it is a button. And button text should be item.name. That means the product name must be displayed here. That means now the product name is displayed like a button here, is displayed like a button. So that means browse categories, electronics and footwear, and click on footwear, new Nike casuals and Lee Cooper boot. And when I click on that, that related data should come and display here. That related data should come and display here. That means I want it clickable. That means that product click. I want that product click to happen. Then what it should do is product click to happen. Then it has to get the child routes and configure the child routes. Right. So then how do we define that? So for this, one more option we need to do. We need to configure. So let's see how we can do that, right? So when I click on this, it should call a method. That means let's create a method in the products list. In the products list component, let's create a method. So public, so get details. Okay, this get details method should fire up when they click on that button. That means here for button, we are using a click, and it should say button click. That means it should say get details. Okay, get details. Now important, into the get details, I need to pass the product ID because we need to search for the product ID now. So I need to pass all item related details. This entire item related details should be passed into it. So if I want to pass all details into it, then how we can pass all the details into it? We can just use item. That means that product is passed into the details. We have to collect that. Here. That means we have to collect that item here. Okay. After collecting that, it should navigate. On button click, it should navigate. So how it will navigate? How it can navigate? So for navigating, we need a router. This is route, activated route. And we have data. Okay. We need one more. So attribute here. So that is private router. It is of type router. Now what we can do is through router, we can access here. So this dot router dot navigate. Okay, navigate to which path? We have to define the path. It has to navigate to a path called details. It should navigate to a path called details. Okay. Actually, we haven't created that path. We will create it. And what should be passed into that path? A parameter must be passed. What is the parameter? Item dot product ID is passed as parameter. Item have a product ID. That product ID will be passed as parameter into details. So is it in a new route to pass or in the same route it has to pass? It should pass into the same route. Then we have to define relative to this dot route. That means we need to configure that this is relative to the current route. That's what we need.